here, and now the church is coming in and they're practicing. So luckily the speaker is quite close to me, so hopefully you can still hear what I'm saying. So he said, but Peter, standing with the 11, raised his voice and addressed them. There's only 11 now, there's one dropped out. Men of Judah and all who live in Jerusalem, let this be known to you, and listen to what I say. This is making me think about Joseph and Jacob's son and the brothers. There was one that dropped out, and that was Joseph. And it was, so now Jacob had his 11 sons around him, and one of his sons was elsewhere. See, so that just came into my mind. So there's something's coming through here. And he says, and raised his voice and addressed them, men of Judah and all who live in Jerusalem, let this be known to you, and listen to what I say. So he's now addressing, I'm going to say, the tribe of Judah. So he's speaking to his own people. But Peter is speaking to the Jews, or I'm going to say the chosen people, the people who are going to save the Gentiles out of the Gentile spirit, so to speak. So if we know the story of Noah, and one of the sons, Shem, was blessed to be the Abraham, rewarded to be the Abraham lineage, which led to the Isaac and Jacob and the 12 tribes of Israel. And then they were split between Judah and Israel. So now Peter, who was one of Jesus' followers, one of the disciples of Jesus, he's speaking to the 11, and he's saying, men of Judah. And that's telling me something here. That's telling me that right now there are significant changes taking place upon the earth now. And I heard that the Prime Minister, she's called an election in June, and that confirms to me of a change, because I actually said in January that there's going to be a shift in the government system. And I'm not talking about conservative government or Labour. I'm talking about there's going to be a shift in the governing system. There's going to be an overturn of this present governing system on the earth. You see, because the Lord was showing me something. He woke me up on Friday night, and he had me read the Gospel of St. John, where the Jews took Jesus, the Saphias, the high priest, took Jesus to I'm going to say the Romans, and he says, you kill him. We can't kill him. It's not in our law to kill, but it's in your law to kill, and you're ruling. Okay? So to speak, I'm giving it in a very harsh manner because of the time constraints. So what I'm saying is, there was a time for the Roman Empire to rule, and right now the Lord is saying that humanity has been ruling the earth, but now my time is coming, or my moments are coming, and we are to know the timing, because if we do not know the timing, then we can come into the wrath of the Lord. And now I'm not placing it, because the Lord has been showing me through the readings that his wrath shall come upon the land. And that might sound quite scary, the wrath of the Lord. But hey, listen to it. Let's see what we can say in the next 10 minutes or so. So it says here in the morning song, it talks about the day of resurrection. Earth, tell it out abroad. The Passover of gladness, the Passover of God. From death to life eternal, from earth unto the sky. Our Christ hath brought us over with hymns of victory. So there's a message in itself. So as we come out of the timing of man, and of the Gentile spirit, we now come into the golden moments, I say, of the Lord. You see, and it talks about a Passover, and it's a Passover of gladness. So we're going to have to die. I'm going to say to the flesh. We're going to have to die to this fleshly body, to this earthly body, you see, and resurrect into our heavenly body. That's our true reign. That's our true home, our true inheritance. That's why it says the Passover of gladness. And so Peter is talking to the chosen people who will save the world, because, stay with me on this, folks. In the prophet Ezekiel 37, the Lord speaks to the prophet that I will take you over the valley of dead bones and cause you to raise up, through my word in you, will raise up Israel and Judah that will save the world. Yeah? So we have to know about timing and schedules, because the wrath of the Lord is coming upon the land. And can I tell you, he wants his gardens to be well kept. And I'm talking climate change here. He wants his garden to be well kept, because that's his first commandment to man, to be in the garden and keep it. You see, and the church here they're going to have a well-kept garden here. They have nice grounds. They've got beautiful grounds in the front that it's on it. And as the buses and other transportation pass, they look over into the church ground. It's a nice greenery, and they've got a lovely grounds at the back. You see, so the commandment is to keep the garden and tend it, and so this shall be. So Peter speaks, and he addresses men of Judah, and I said that's telling me that there's going to be an overturning of the governing system. You see, and I won't go into it right now what I mean, but there's going to be an overturning of the governing system, and when the Lord's governing system comes, then we experience the wrath of the Lord. Okay, so who live in Jerusalem? Now we're talking about coming into the heavenly mind. We have to shift from this earthly mind, the mind of vanity and vainness, and come into the heavenly mind. That's what he means by Jerusalem. Because the Bible, the word is spirit. So the scriptures is spirit. And we're talking about spiritual Judah and spiritual Jerusalem. So Judah is the new governing system, the new coding system, has to move into the mind of God. Let this be known to you. We come into high knowledge of the Lord and listen to what I say. We hear the voice of the Lord. So this is the promise that we become high priests. Eventually we will become high priests, because Jesus is interceding that we become high priests. But we become prophets. We hear the voice of the Lord. We speak it, and it shall come to pass. You see? So it says here, then the second paragraph, now he speaks to the Israelites. You that, and I say Israelites because I'm thinking that it was Judah and Israel, the two tribes. You that are Israelites, listen to what I have to say to you. So Jesus is speaking, have that spiritual hearing. You won't hear it in the five senses. The five senses are what we deal with in the flesh. But in the spiritual sense, in the spiritual awareness, you shall hear this. So he says here, listen to what I have to say. Jesus of Nazareth, a man attested to you by God with deeds of power, wonders and signs that God did through him among you, as you yourself know. This man handed over to you according to the definite plan and knowledge of God. You crucified and killed by the hands of those outside the law. Now that's a powerful statement, but it's just making me think that the Lord purposely awoke me on Friday to have me to read the Gospel of St. John from 18 to the end. And the Jews were saying, because at the time of Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead, the Jews were concerned over the Roman Empire. So they went to Saphias, the high priest, and they said, we're going to have to prophesy the death of this man. He's going to have to die for the nation, because if he doesn't die, we're going to die, because we are subjected under the laws of the Romans, you see, and he's claiming to be God, you see. So that's another situation here. And I am still awaiting the Lord to give me an understanding, so I won't even try to go there right now to try and explain. I'm just going to say as I'm hearing it right now. So he's saying that your people, the Jews, the God's people, handed over Jesus to the Romans. It's out of the law of the Jews to kill, because thou shalt not kill. And it also says to the prophet Jeremiah that you should not kill son and daughter to Molech. You should not follow the Gentile spirit and the heathen way. Okay, the Lord is against that. And he says in Leviticus 20, 23 and 24, there is punishment for killing son and daughter, for sacrificing your son and daughter, following the heathen way. Okay, but now the Jews and the Israelites have been subjected to the Gentile spirit through the starting from King Cyrus of Persia, of the Persian Empire. So he's saying that because the Jews are the chosen people and they've handed over Jesus to the Romans, because the Jews cannot break the law that thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt not follow the heathen ways and kill seed to Molech. But the Romans do that anyway, and they're already under judgment anyway. So to save them, they handed Jesus over. And I'm not going to, please don't ask me to explain that one. But what I can say to you is that's what they're saying now. They're saying if the chosen people have handed Jesus over, therefore it must be in the will of God. Okay, it must be in the will of God. So, the will of God. Right now, that's taking me into another sphere, that sometimes we have to go through some sacrificial moments to be in the will of God. All right? And when the Lord spoke to me first and he said, I want you to do such and such, it was against the belief system. I didn't see that I had that type of merit, that type of authority. In school, they told me I wasn't brainy. So I didn't believe that I could study these things or make that impact. But I have. Not I, but the Lord has caused me to make an impact, particularly in the arena of cancer. When the Lord caused me to speak in 1993, in the little workplace there, when you read the books on cancer, there was a drastic change. So, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So he's saying that the Lord's chosen people brought the Messiah, or brought Jesus, to the Romans so that he can be killed. So this must be the will of God. And we've got to trust certain circumstances. We don't understand, and I'm saying I don't really understand what I'm saying here, and I'm not even going to try and go there until the Lord brings me into that awareness. But we can't understand why it was the will of the Lord to bring Jesus into this sacrifice, you see. And if we read where in the chapter 11 of the Gospel of St. John, where, and I won't go there because the service is about to start, we have to give respect to the time here, right? But the Jews were concerned that Jesus raised the dead, and they were concerned that the Romans might overturn them. So he will have to go through death for them. And oh gosh, man, I'm just going into some deep stuff here, but I'm going to keep it still. There's going to be a real overturn of government. People, get ready. That's all I can say to you. Get ready in the mind, get ready in the spirit, get ready in the heart. That's what I can say. I am just hearing some deep knowledge coming through, but I won't speak it here on the podcast. So this was an exchange that had to take place. This is an exchange. We don't have a passport for the sake of a passport. The Queen knows why we have a passport. She knows we belong to the Queen. Right? That's why we have a passport. God save the Queen. We belong to the Queen right now. So he says, as you yourself know, this man handed over to you according to the definite plan and foreknowledge of God. You crucified and killed by the hands of those outside the law of God. But God raised him up, having freed him from death, because it was impossible for him to be held in its power. And now this is a word of intent. This is a prophetic word. This is a promise. Right? For David says concerning him, I saw the Lord always before him, for he is at my right hand, so that I will not be shaken. Therefore my heart was glad and my tongue rejoiced. Moreover, my flesh will live in hope. Now, the church's service is about to start, but let me just sum this up. I have been saying that our true inheritance is in the Lord. It says in Genesis 1, let us make man in our